Welcome to Console Crapshoot, where we spin a wheel to play a random video game on original hardware. What are we gonna do today? Probably play video games. I hope. Would be kinda weird if we didn't. Okay, original Xbox. We've actually played the Xbox a lot recently, and that's cool, I'm all for it. Let's see, there's 869 games left on the Xbox wheel. Oh, Jet Set Radio Future. That's an interesting one. I never played this one, actually. I had the first game for the Sega Dreamcast, Jet Set Radio, but in the US that was called Jet Grind Radio, actually. Always wanted to check out the sequel. So if you're unfamiliar, the Jet Set Radio games are basically a game about trying to make rollerblading cool. You know those rollerbladers, those graffiti rollerbladers you see everywhere? You know they're always fighting off cops while they're rollerblading and spray painting and tagging up the cops that they beat up. They're a real bunch of badasses, those guys. These games had a cel-shaded graphics kind of look. Not everyone loves that, but I think it's pretty cool. First thing I'm noticing is that this game is darker than the original Dreamcast game. Like, that's surprising because the Xbox is a more advanced system, but the Dreamcast had that very bright, arcadey look to it, and that's what set it apart from the other systems in this generation, in my opinion. But the first game was fun and unique. I dug it for that, and this one's no different in that regard. It's really got the same vibes there. Some differences that I'm noticing other than the brightness is there was a lot more to the spray painting in the original game. I know you could like stop and then use the analog stick to do certain patterns to spray paint. They got rid of that here, which is, I don't know, I think it would have been better on the Xbox because you had a second analog stick. I'd say it's more of a requel than a sequel, if that's a word. It reimagines things from the original game. It makes everything bigger, gives it more of an open world structure than the original game, and that's cool. That makes sense for this type of game. I got no problem with it. You notice that the jumps are really floaty. I mean, very unrealistic. Not that it has to be realistic, but if you're used to the Tony Hawk kind of, not that Tony Hawk is realistic, but the gravity makes a little more sense. This game, you really just like float up in the air. It's like moon gravity. And I think that works for this game, but I think they're floaty for a reason, and I don't think it's a good reason. If you look at a game like Tony Hawk, the camera angle is in a very different, almost higher and dynamic position. And the reason it's like that is so that you can see what's in front of you. Even if you're going up a half pipe, the camera kind of puts itself in a position where you can always see where you're going. This game, and even though it's a sequel, they still haven't really figured that out. Jet Set Radio Future's camera isn't anywhere near as intuitive, and that slow floaty feeling is wedged in there, kind of like a band-aid in my opinion. Even as is, sometimes you can't see where you're going, you're always banging into things, and it makes you a little bit dizzy, quite honestly. I have admitted that I'm really sensitive to the dizzies with certain video games, and I don't want to hold that against this game because I'm super sensitive to it, but this game really made me want to throw up a couple times. As cool as it is, as fun as it is, every half hour playing this game I felt really nauseous. I needed to stop for a little while, and I think that's really due to the janky camera, and I don't mean to knock it too much, but that's what I'm noticing. This whole series definitely has a lot of personality. The soundtrack is incredible, especially for this game. There's like 2 hours of music on this disc, and a lot of it is really awesome. A lot of it's pretty fun music to listen to. I think the soundtracks you can look up on Spotify and just listen to them. I like how everyone talks in this game world. Like they kind of move their arms around like completely insane maniacs. I don't think anyone talks in this game without doing this thing with their arms, and it's pretty funny. I'm imagining a world where I do this every time I talk. Hey Carl, do you want some fucking Cheez-Its, my dude? So I had some fun going back into this world despite the nauseousness and the dizzies. It made me think a lot though. I'm surprised that this franchise didn't continue very much after this, but there really is no shortage of games that this game hasn't influenced. First of all, really awesome game called Sunset Overdrive from Insomniac. It's way different. It does its own thing, has its completely unique look, but you know it was influenced by this series a little bit. There's also this game Hover Revolt of Gamers. This one, again, clearly influenced by Jet Set. It takes the gameplay into completely new, interesting places, but it doesn't have as much personality as the Jet Set Radio series. Then you have a game called Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, and this game is kind of, at least in spirit, a sequel to the Jet Set series. Is made made by a lot of the same designers. It does its own thing, it's different, but it is seen as a spiritual successor. Definitely worth checking out. And then finally, one of my favorites is this game called Rollerdrome. This one came out, I think, about 2 years ago. It is currently, I think it still is currently on Game Pass, so you can play this for free if you have Game Pass. It's totally different than the Jet Set series, but again, clear influence. And the look of it, it's one of the most interesting looking games I have ever played. I love this game, and I've been looking for a reason to talk about it. Actually, I'm a dummy. I completely forgot. I think it was last year Sega showed off a trailer for a bunch of games that they're rebooting, and Jet Set Radio was in there. There is a new one coming out. So anyway, yeah, back to Jet Set Radio Future. It's a great game. It was fun to come back here. It's really more of a good thing if you were into the first game. It has its faults, but just a really cool, unique experience that I think is a must-play. You gotta play this series, whether it's the first or second game, and it wins a lot on style points. So let's give a rating to Jet Set Radio Future for the Xbox. Yeah, we've said all the things. I mean, it still feels fresh, even though, like I said, there are games that have come out since that were inspired by it. They have done things better than it, but this thing still ages well. It holds up, and I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5. A lot of 4s lately. Been handing out 4s like crazy, but we've been getting really good stuff with a few exceptions. But what did you think about Jet Set, either the first or second or both games? I'm going to spoil a little bit. I'm going to tease. We have some very significant games coming up. I'm not saying good or bad. I'm saying notable, noteworthy games coming up on the next few episodes. So I'm excited to play them. Hope you will join, and we will see you then.
Gotta keep it cool.